Hello, everyone. Daniel Sloan here with Future Tech. I'm excited to be speaking today here at the AI Expo. And what I'm going to talk about today is how AI can transform the regulatory landscape and help companies better manage that. So I've got a presentation. Let me share my screen and we'll dig right into it. Go ahead and kick this off. Excellent. So again, the title is How AI Can Transform Regulatory Compliance. Again, I'm Daniel Sloan. I'm one of the co-founders here at Future Tech, and I'm also the Blockchain and AI Practice Manager. Let's dig right into it. What I thought I would do is talk about one of the products that our partner Accubits has developed. It's called RAWAS. It's an AI-powered regulatory change management solution, and it's quite cool. It was built using state-of-the-art technologies. It actually uses advanced AI and computer vision technologies. And one of the exciting things about it is it can not only retrieve information that was digital, but also from non-digital. So scanned documents, photographs, handwritten content, things like that. It has advanced crawler, and that can quickly identify the regulatory documents, where there are updates made to it, and then also alert the team of regulatory professionals that are managing the tool to these changes. And also, I think it's important to note that this tool can be configured to meet any of the specific business needs and requirements. So, it can be very bespoke. So why do companies need an AI compliance solution? Well, if you think about it, organizations all over the globe spend millions in maintaining teams, having a workforce that does nothing but look at regulatory compliance, verify it, and try to make heads or tails of what the new compliance is. When you use an AI-powered change management system, it enables these companies to kind of automate that process and kind of takes all that human interaction out of that. Using advanced computer vision technology, we can identify record changes, that's made on the website and then across all the other different industries. So instead of a human having to go through the sites, figure out what might have changed, what hasn't changed, the AI does all that. And essentially by doing that, it frees up human resources from the monotonous jobs of having to go into these sites, doing all these manual processes that are very mundane, and allows them to do much higher cognitive work, which is what humans should be doing in the first place. What I thought I'd do is kind of go through some of the features of the product and kind of highlight some of the ones that are more important. Obviously, when you're talking about artificial intelligence, one of the first things you think about is how rapidly and quickly it can do things. So the faster detection of regulatory changes. I think another thing that I think is really cool about artificial intelligence is, unlike a human that needs to, be done at the end of the day, go home, get a night's rest. I mean, you've got a system that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing nothing but going through, crawling through these sites, grabbing all the regulatory content, aggregating that, and then bringing that information back into the system. So when the humans come back to work, they can look at what they've identified and found. You've got real-time intelligence and insights, which is important. We'll dig into more of this later in my presentation, but the reports and dashboards, I think, are just key. I know as an executive, anytime I can have a dashboard to where all the information that's important to what I'm doing is there, any kind of insights to where that information came from, drawing parallels to other data. I mean, that's so important instead of sitting there having to crunch all that information and having to draw those parallels myself. And again, that intuitive dashboard for compliance professionals is exactly what we're talking about. And again, highly configurable. We want to be able to take the business process of a company. We're going to talk about kind of 4 industries that are very highly regulated, but pharmaceuticals, financial services, these all have specific kind of business flows and cases that they have. We want to be able to configure that to those specific business needs. So, we don't create an issue to where people don't want to use the tool because it doesn't follow their business process. I think this is one of the main key features of AI, right? When you start talking about artificial intelligence, what do you think of? You think of fast content aggregation and the ability to go out and do something that humans can't do. It's collecting information from a wide sources of regulatory frameworks and compiling that together into this dashboard. So again, having the ability to go out, grab information from multiple sources, bring it into a single dashboard, that's a huge benefit to the compliance teams and the executives that are looking at these dashboards. Creating the notifications, I think, is very cool. If you can think about management by exception. So if I know this happens to me all the time, probably happens to you as well. It's like, I don't need to be CC'd on every email about this particular topic. And I'm actually always kind of sending, please remove, please take me from this chain, because it eats time. It takes time away from what you're doing and your focus to look at that. And that's something that when you think about inefficiencies, but if you have a system like this, if I know that I only need to look at messages that I'm being tagged on because the system is saying, this is important, you need to look at this, then I know at that point, I need to look at that message versus I have 100 messages that are coming in and I might not be looking at all of them. And the important one is stuck in the middle there. Dynamic insight management, I think, is another kind of key feature to AI. And one of the things I like about the RAWA system, you zero in on the regulatory changes instantly, and then, kind of understand why that change was made and what is the impact to the business. That's kind of where we get into generate real-time intelligence, the reports that kind of come in and draw those conclusions and give insights to, well, the regulations were this, and now they've changed to this. And so, here's a recommended course of action. These are all things that are very valuable to the humans that are actually consuming this information and need to take action on it. And then again, allowing organizations to respond to these changes quickly and efficiently. And I said that slowly because I think that's where a big gap in the entire system, if you will, from a human doing this job, gathering the information, giving that to somebody that's supposed to make a decision on it. The fact that that person that's making the decision has to basically verify the veracity of that information and have to take into account that there could be issues or flaws or all kinds of issues with that data. So before they can make a decision, they have to make sure that they verify everything, that they go through everything, that it is accurate. And this is where problems come in. I pulled this article from Pharmaceutical Processing World. It was very interesting to me to see how much big pharma companies get fined. GSK alone got what, 10 billion in fines over a 13-year period. It's almost close to 760 thousand, a million rather, a year. Crazy amount of money. So not having an efficient and transparent solution to enable decisions to be made is what ends up causing these big fines for these companies. I also think financial services has the same problem, and it's a regulatory nightmare. Boston Consulting Group, they had a really good report, and it was interesting. It said they were tracking about 3 times as many individual global regulatory changes as compared to 2011. So within a short span of 7 years, the amount of regulatory changes in that industry has tripled, which is a lot. And that these institutions were averaging, what, 200 regulatory revisions per day in 2017? That's just an amazing amount of changes and information to keep up with. It's surprising to me that companies still are throwing, legions of humans at this problem when you have AI to help you solve the problem. So let's look at using AI versus humans. What are some of the benefits? Lesser time to monitor and manage changes. That's a no-brainer. No need for a designated workforce for certain tasks. So you have the AI going out, like we mentioned earlier, scraping the websites with the crawlers, pulling all those informations. Those were mundane tasks that humans were doing before. More accurate and optimized results. I think more accurate is an understatement. You'll see here later in the presentation, a case study where we had 100% accuracy. So you're going from a human that has human error that can, cut and paste things or put things in, wrong, to where you have an AI that can bring information into a system that's 100% accurate. I think that's huge. You start looking at less expensive systems to maintain and retrain, changes, retain changes rather. And then obviously we've all experienced this. If you've worked in corporate America, you've got multiple departments. Everyone kind of has their own little system. Somebody's putting information in this software. Someone's putting information in this software. And it can be insane sometimes to try to keep up with where all the information is, how to get that, and to be able to analyze all that. And when you start looking at what AI can do, as long as it can have access to all of those data repositories, it can aggregate all that data and basically solve the problem of what a lot of companies try to do is mandate a single software solution, which from a change management standpoint is very hard. So this kind of solves another problem of change management and getting everyone to use the same system. And then it aggregates the risk management, providing a very holistic view, which I think is important. We kind of touched on some of these industries, but we'll go into a little more detail. Banking and finance, you saw that one article, just huge amount of regulatory volume and changes, constant changing. And obviously when you're talking about banking and money, there is a huge amount of fines. And, there's even executives who've gone to jail for not keeping up with regulatory changes. And obviously you don't want to be thrown in jail as a compliance officer. So you probably want to have the best tool to do your job. We talked about pharmaceuticals. Obviously, when you're talking about people's safety and their health and keeping regulatory compliance with drugs and standards amongst multiple countries, that's a daunting task for a team of humans to do. Insurance, obviously, ever-changing insurance regulations. I think COVID had created more changes in the insurance industry around health insurance and other industry than any other event in the last 10 years. So, you can imagine what the insurance industry is going through right now and trying to maintain and keep up with all these regulatory changes that are coming out just out of COVID. And then obviously with digital assets, we have ever changing almost every hour, being in the digital assets space myself. You never know 1 minute from the next, what is the regulatory environment. So if you're running an exchange or anything else that having to do with digital assets, being able to keep in compliance will help not only keep you from getting fined, but again, they are throwing people in jail for being out of compliance. Let me talk to you a little bit about this case study that Accubits did with Cipla Pharmaceuticals. I thought this was pretty exciting. If you're not familiar with Cipla, they're a global pharmaceutical company, about 80 plus countries, 1,500 products. And, when you think about that many products, you've got what, 50 plus dosage forms. So a very large company that operates over multiple countries. The problem I thought was pretty well summed up by Pavan Kumar, was one of the senior managers there. And I'll read it. We had great challenges in dealing with the manual processes of collating the data information available in different sources. So again, the fact that they had data and information in multiple sources and multiple websites was their biggest challenge. So the solution was the RAWAS, that AI computer vision software that we put in place for them. It provided 100% accuracy on data collection and classification. And then the increased speed and accuracy of that data enabled the team to increase their decision-making process by 60%. So to me, that is just huge. The fact that you can now trust the data, you can trust the information you're getting, and you can more than increase your decision process by 50%. You're at 60, that's pretty important. I did another article poll here that I thought was interesting. And, when you start seeing articles that say insurance industry and acceleration of regulatory across the globe, and put it quite frankly, keeping up with the pace of regulatory changes in the current environment is one of the greatest challenges. So the fact that there's ever-changing regulations, this is the biggest challenge that companies are facing. We see multiple articles where they're getting fined, people are going to jail. So I don't think I have to make too much of a case for why an AI solution is critical for companies that are in these industries. So kind of closing summary, keeping up with the changing regulations for a number of industries, it is a daunting task. I don't think anyone could argue the fact that, having to manage multiple systems and multiple countries and dealing with information and getting the accuracy of that, that's just not a job humans should be doing. Artificial intelligence that was one of the reasons why it was created, was for that sole purpose. Again, companies are paying billions of dollars in fines for non-compliance. We have documented case studies that show AI computer vision solutions like the RAWAS are able to provide companies, that speed of accuracy and just to do things that are impossible for humans to do. And kind of my final closing, remarks here is, I think AI is playing a role in these industries right now, and companies are relying upon it. But I think as more and more of these kind of case studies, are made available and people see the benefits and the ROI of artificial intelligence, I think it'll play an even bigger role in the future. And I'm also a big proponent of blockchain, of being able to take that data and have it in an immutable ledger, which is a whole nother topic of its own. Here's the contact information for both myself and Shamir from Accubits, and I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation today. And it's not live, so I can't answer questions, but if you guys want to email me or contact me through the app, happy to answer questions. Thank you.